Morning. We're here at Pacific Bonsai Museum getting ready to repot this Chinese elm forest. And the reason we wanted to feature this tree is because of the original artist, Melba Tucker. March being Women's History Month, we really wanted to take a moment and acknowledge the women that have made significant contributions to the art of bonsai. And for those of you who knew Melba Tucker or know of her, Melba was a really instrumental leader and early teacher of the saikei style, the sort of variant of bonsai, which emphasized more of the landscape, the use of stones, trying to create more of a holistic sort of scene rather than the solitary bonsai. We're very grateful to have one of her forest compositions in our collection. It's of the Catlin variety, which is a specific cultivar known for its really tight, compact growth. Very popular among Southern California practitioners back in the late 60s and 70s. This tree has not been repotted in some time, primarily because it's on a slab. And slab plantings typically don't need as frequent a repotting as if they were in a container. This one, it has had some health issues, so the time has sort of come to investigate what might be going on in the soil system and see if we can identify any problems.
So we've really taken our time in cleaning off the weeds. There were quite a bit. And when we repot, it's really just a great opportunity to get all of the weeds out that have been sort of building up over time. And especially on forest compositions, it's really hard to get in between the trunks of the trees and to clean them out as well. So just making sure that we're being methodical in our approach, really trying to get in between the trunks and exposing the nabari, cleaning out all of the liverwort and stargrass that just is so challenging to get in these forest compositions, get it all out. So this has sort of been a slow process. We're taking our time and just making sure that we can start to expose the surface roots, kind of seeing where the nabari is, how the trees are possibly connected or joined, is something to take your time in doing. At one point in the history of the tree, we had added some soil here kind of towards the edge to kind of expand it and maybe encourage some better root growth. And so we have some higher quality soil on the front end, but in the core, you can see it's much darker and more compact, probably original soil to when this forest was put together. So the next step is going to be to lift it up and start to examine the bottom, see if we can get underneath and dig into some of that older core soil, hoping to improve the quality of the root ball by removing that, which will then allow us to put in some better quality bonsai mix. When I'm using our metal spatula, to start to just separate the forest from this slab. It's not tied in. It's been on there so long that it's just gotten kind of stuck to the stone. So using this metal spatula to help loosen it up and just start to pry it off in order to get to the bottom of the plant. A lot of white roots indicating that the tree is growing. We'll see those white roots emerging actually sooner than we will see the tree's buds swelling. So this tree's buds had began to swell a little bit, but they haven't really fully opened or even gotten close to that. But because of that, though, I knew that the roots would be active, so we could start the repotting process a little bit maybe earlier than the buds are sort of indicating. But just using our Metal spatula again to start to work the bottom of the root ball, just taking out this layer of roots to get back to the kind of the core root ball, and starting to be able to see some of the older soil that's causing some issues with this tree. And so it's just a matter of methodically sort of working through, trying to keep our spatula flat or parallel, to the root ball, because the flatter we can sort of keep it, the better. I make sure that the spatula is really sharp. I'll sharpen it on a grinder before doing this, so it's almost just like a blade, as we can just sort of see it cutting through the roots. Chinese elm roots are, in particular, very rubbery. They're kind of hard to cut. So whatever tool you're using to cut your elms, especially Chinese elms, make sure that it's sharp, because the roots themselves can kind of be a challenge to cut cleanly. You also sometimes have to provide some pressure or some kind of a slight pull on the root in order to cut it cleanly. It'll kind of just smush a little bit if you're cutting it kind of by itself. And just examining the roots, it's such an important opportunity to see what's going on in the root system. This is our chance to examine it in a much greater detail, and this is not something that we get to do very often. So just making sure that you're taking the time to look at the roots, search for any insects, signs of rot, or just overall health. So this bottom layer looks really good. Nice white tips, a nice brown color to the roots. But given the size of the tree and the age of the tree, there's also, not as many. There's not, the density isn't as nice as I would like to see it, and I think part of that is because of the older soil that's been there is kind of causing some issues. But where there is quality bonsai soil, we are seeing really good root growth. So I've kind of gotten all the roots off the bottom, at least flattened, and just kind of examining it, holding it up. Last little bit down here at the bottom to clean off. So now that I've got the mat, kind of the bottom mat off, I'm going to follow up with a chopstick now, switching tools to something a little bit finer than just kind of the big spatula here. And I'm sort of indicating an area that I'm noticing some discoloration. You can sort of see it's a little bit darker than the surrounding akadama. So I'm starting to just pull away more of the akadama that's kind of covering it, to see if we can reveal what the soil is like, which is probably going to be a darker color, indicating an older, more decomposed soil medium. So we're starting to see some of that brown soil mixed in with an older kind of aggregate material. Looks kind of like a chicken grit or crushed granite. So pine bark and granite were kind of the very popular soil amendments back in the 60s and 70s, and sort of as these materials age, they become much more compressed and lose their ability to support the root system, primarily with the lack of oxygen and nutrition that they can provide. And you can see there just some of that darker, denser, finer soil. So we're going to continue to excavate that out. I'm respecting those really larger roots because I want to make sure I know where they're at. But I am cleaning and removing these smaller, finer roots. That's going to help just continue to open that up. So one of the things we had to do in order to get the tree ready for repotting was drill some holes in the slab for tie downs, because we've actually separated the forest into two pieces, and we wanted to add some additional stones into the composition because saikei typically uses rocks in and amongst the trees to really accentuate the feeling of a landscape. I've had the opportunity to work on a couple of other trees by Melba while I was in DC. And if you look at all of her forest compositions that are in public collections, she uses additional stones in and amongst the trees. So it felt fitting to add those to sort of match her style, but also to, I think, increase the visual interest and appeal of this composition. And so Scarlett and I are sort of played around with these quite a bit, but then kind of landed on a final design and composition, and it just was a matter of working in the soil and moss kind of around these stones. The problem is that a lot of these trees had lost major roots due to the poor quality of the soil. So we had to kind of become inventive with how we were anchoring them in. And so as the tree sort of recovers and moves forward, they should improve in the quality of the root system. And so I think the tree too has also been increased in its visual appeal, just with these different rocks kind of matching the slab and breaking up the composition a little bit, making it look more like a landscape or more like a saikei. And so we're really grateful for just Melba's contributions as an early pioneer of American bonsai, especially in saikei and stone collection. And I think this tree is a better representation of her as an artist and her sort of unique style of bonsai.